Hi, and welcome to a webinar from Linköping University. Today we're going to learn more about our master's program in Strategic Urban and Regional Planning. I'm here with Kristina, who's the program director, and Mohammad, who is a second year student. But before we move over to them to hear their experiences and let them explain more about the program, I just thought I would go through a few things. Please ask your questions in the questions section. We will answer these at the end. We'll be talking for about 20 to 30 minutes. And then we have plenty of time to answer questions from you all. The webinar is being recorded. This first part, where we have our conversation, will be recorded, not the question bit. Yeah, so you can view it again at a later date. But enough about this. Let's start by introducing our guests. It's Kristina. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Kristina Trygg. I am the program director for this master program in Strategic Urban and Regional Planning. I'm also a senior lecturer at the Thematic Studies, Technology and Social Change. And my research interest is within this field of urban regional planning with a focus on sustainable development in urban areas.
Thank you. And Mohammad?
Hi everybody, I'm Mohammad, the second year student in the field, and I'm more than happy to be here with you and talking to you and sharing my experiences.
We really look forward to hearing them and hearing about your internship that you're currently undertaking. But let's start with Kristina. Can you give us a brief introduction to the program, and why do we offer this program? What's the background?
Yes, I mean, we are in an urgent need to change our society that we live in today, and particularly emphasis is placed on the sustainability challenges that urban areas and regions are facing. And this includes, of course, the climate change, urbanisation, digitalisation, and social inequality. And the program addresses these challenges, and since they are complex, often conflicting, it's very important to be able to make well-grounded decisions about them. And the focus is placed on giving students the opportunity to deepen their ability to critically evaluate and use information in relation to these societal challenges that the program addresses. So to be able to do that, you need, as a student, a holistic long-term view of the challenges that the worlds are facing. And the program is set up to give you that and deepen the knowledge and skill within strategic and urban planning. And also there is a need for experts that can make these strategic decisions.
Thank you. While we're talking about this, how to gain the skills to make these strategic decisions, maybe we can share the slide you have with the program structure, because I think that's really interesting to. Let me go from the start. Oops, there we go. There we go. So the program is just like most of our master's program. It's a 2-year program, and the first and second semester are mainly course-based. Is that right?
Yes, I mean, for semester 1 and 2, the first year, it's actually it's obligatory courses that you see the structure of here. So we will start off with a 10 weeks course in strategic urban and regional planning that really introduce these kind of settings and set kind of the background and introduction for the whole program.
Is that the one you teach in?
Yes, I'm the course coordinator for that course. And in that course, we go first theoretically and introduces the field. And also we do a practical living lab with private actors or an organization. So it's like a real case study that the students will do, and then they will present this for the organization, like a jury in the end.
Okay.
And then we have the structure that all these challenges that I talked about really is one of the courses for the whole first year. So the urbanization and globalisation, climate change, and so on is really the structure for the courses. And we only have a researcher as teacher as well, so they research in this area. So you will have the best knowledge from Linköping University. So all the courses coordinated are research at Linköping University. So we, yeah.
Are these? I actually received a question at a FARA where I was participating. Is this program is it aimed at European students or is it of benefit to students from outside the EU?
I mean, it's really for both, but we will address more European issues or in a European context. The main focus is, but it's open for all international students.
And other nationalities would also benefit from it and learn.
Yes, of course.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Mohammad, you're from outside the EU. What has your take been? What has your experience been of the first and second semesters and of these programs?
As Kristina explained, that the main focus of the program is on the challenges that the world is facing right now: globalization, urbanization, digitalisation, climate change complications, and social inequality. And these kind of challenges are exacerbating in even not non-EU countries like the Asian one, Middle Eastern one. So I think although most of, let's say, the focus and concentration on the courses are on the EU context, but we can apply the outcome of our knowledge, I think, in other countries as well. For example, as my personal experience, I think that, when I return to my country, the context, the population is so much more compared to Sweden or European countries. And let's say the pollution is higher and everything, but the skills and knowledge that I've gained from the university and professors here, I think would be applicable to other contexts as well. So again, as Kristina said, each of these focus areas have been addressed through different courses. For example, we've been a specific course on climate change transition profiles that we've been got accustomed and familiar with these mitigation and adaptation interventions that would benefit the cities in order to alleviate and reduce the rate of their, let's say, climate change complications. And all of them are kind of directed toward sustainable development goals and this UN agenda for 2030 that is a very trending concept worldwide right now. So yeah, in a nutshell, I think urban planning, if you wanted to change the society to a better world for the upcoming generations, one of the main measures that you need to contemplate on is urban planning, specifically strategic urban planning, I think.
Thank you. And which of these courses that were in the first year was the one specifically that you really enjoyed?
I really enjoyed all of them. All of them are like my children. I can't, differentiate between them.
Very diplomatic answer. It's good though. It's good though to hear that you enjoyed them all and that they all kind of fit together nicely in that sense. Then, let's move on to the second year, third and fourth semester, and this is interesting because you can kind of, from the look of this, you can mix and match a bit. You can kind of set your own path a bit. Kristina, could you tell us a bit more about the options?
Yes, I mean, this second year of the program really is about to get the student to specialize what they really want to focus on, to give them opportunities to have different options, I would say, is very important, and we want them to be able to specialization courses that really are of their interest and what they want with their in the future to work with, for example. So we have, I mean, of course, 30 credits that you can have at our department or at Linköping University, as you see here. For example, this foodscapes in urban regional strategic planning, the visualization, sustainability in the urban realm, and the politics of planning, and critical perspective of planning for health. And as you can almost hear on this, they have different focus, for example, of health or the food production and sustainability issues about that. And then, of course, you can also do an internship, as Mohammad is doing right now, and you can choose to do it for the whole semester or for half of the semester. And this is really, we want to give the opportunity to the student to really try out the professional life and to get into an organization or private actor. And we want to have them to try out and try to work there. And this is, of course, the student's responsibility to finding the internship, but we will help them with writing a CV. We will have suggestions and contacts and agreements. They will have an agreement with their organization, and also we will help them with the reference letter and so on. So we will, of course, help them and have suggestions. But the point here really is to find an internship yourself that you really want to get into and understand and work for. And the only thing we want is that you it needs to be relevant, of course, for urban regional planning, and also that it's they will do an analytical assignment. And this is also to make sure that they really can do a thing there, to develop their skills, to try out, and kind of both help the organization and that the organization will help them.
Yeah. So basically, you don't do any you don't organize any internships for anybody in the sense that you don't have a pool of contacts.
Actually, we have a few, and they can choose to have it. But most of the students, I think Mohammad will agree with me, did on their own find an internship. But we have some.
Mohammad, I'd love to hear more about your internship. Where are you and what are you doing?
Firstly, I should thank Kristina for this program. This opportunity for the students to undertake an internship as the third semester would, let's say, increase their competence and let them get to know the market of the destination country. So this internship, I think, would benefit me so much in the future. And now I'm in Stockholm. Actually, I have prepared my CV and try to contact to some department chefs in order to get this opportunity. Firstly, I'm in every company right now. Firstly, they actually answered me. They don't want to have an internship right now. They don't need to. But after some days, they turn back to me and let me know that they're willing to have me as their intern for my third semester. So I moved from Norrköping, unfortunately, because I loved Norrköping. It's a beautiful small country with a great nature and people. And I moved from Norrköping to Stockholm. It's around 2 months and a half ago. And now, I'm living in Stockholm and doing my internship. Actually, I'm now sitting at the office of AFRI in Solna, Stockholm.
And do you, as part of this, you have to do a project, or I mean, are you kind of throughout your internship, are you a regular staff member, but you're also doing a project, or how does it work?
Since the beginning, thus far, actually, I've been involved in 3 projects, and most of them are ongoing. For example, one of them was about, let's say, the road safety index that the A3 senior consultants are designing for a client. I don't know, how much information I could.
No, don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's done by Claes Tingvall and Anders Lee, 2 very famous Swedish experts in traffic, the people who were behind the Vision Zero that is spread worldwide afterwards during the last decades. The other project was designing and implementing some fences alongside the railway tracks in order to prevent the impulsive suicides. That is gonna, increasing a little bit, maybe because of the psychological complications after the spread of COVID or stuff. And the last one is trying to find some indicators for bus stops, tram stops, and so on, in order to integrate the perspective and perception of children into the actually, in order to know the perception of children on the traffic flow, and in order to, let's say, give a score to different stations in order to measure their children friendliness.
Okay. Now I think this sounds great. I mean, this I assume, Kristina, gives a really good insight into future career opportunities.
Yes, of course, and that's really the benefit of doing an internship.
Brilliant. Let's move back to this. I just want to finish off because the 4th semester is the entire blue line there. It says thesis, which you will have in the next semester. You have that to look forward to, Mohammad. What is the thesis? I mean, what is expected of the students for the thesis?
Yeah, I mean, the thesis is really about, to get devoted the whole semester to write their thesis. And we also want the student, if they do an internship, to really think of what they can do in the thesis, to think of it early. So we start in the 2nd semester with the method course. And to think of this and get them prepared for the whole thesis semester, I will say. And also that's why we have this possibility to have individual specialization. It's a course that you can have for 5 weeks, and there you can really you can do like a pre-study for your thesis. You can try out a method, or you can try to do a literature review of what you want to focus on in your thesis. So this is something you can have to prepare yourself for the whole thesis.
Okay. And the thesis is usually, do you do it individually or in teams or groups, and is it within the university, or is it similar to an internship where you actually do it with industry?
It's individually, so everyone will write their thesis individually, and you will have some seminars and so on for the semester, but you can do the thesis abroad, like a minor field studies or something like that. You can get a stipendium to do it abroad, and you can do it in collaboration, or what to say, with an organization, but you really need to think of that it's the focus is an academic writing here, so you need to really have that clear if you do it in collaboration with an organization or a company. But the supervisor will be at the university.
Okay. Thanks. Mohammad, have you got yours planned out already?
I have some minor thoughts at least on my mind. And I have
Mhm.
talked to, for example, Klaus on this like road safety issues, and he was so willing and helpful. We talked a little bit about thesis, and he might be one of my supervisors. I think that I should have one professor from the university, and maybe I could have the other consultant or supervisor from the industry or another universities. I also have talked about this kind of designing the fences to Johan, the person who is affiliated with Trafikverket and Karolinska Institute, who is mostly responsible for designing and implementing the fences. So I'm trying to kind of try to connect this, the design of the fence to the road traffic safety, and have some consultant and supervisors from outside the university, and of course from within the university, in order to you know try my best to incorporate all the thoughts in the area.
Okay, sounds good. Um, Before we move on to kind of questions in a bit, because I think we've already been talking for 20 minutes, I'd like to hear more about the student life here, Mohammed. You said you liked Norrköping. What was it like living in Norrköping?
Yeah, actually, I loved Norrköping. It's a very beautiful city. Actually, all the Swedish cities are beautiful. I've been to like 10 of them at least, from Skellefteå and Umeå up north till this is Stockholm, Linköping, Söderköping, Nyköping. The very first thing that uh, attracts my attention in Sweden is this integration of nature, streets, buildings. It's exactly the representative of blue-green country. It just took you 5 minutes to walk from wherever you stand right now to get to a forest, a lake, or both of them. So it's very wonderful. I think maybe Norway or Canada would be more or less the same as Sweden, but I really like Sweden in this case.
It's
And
interesting. You actually have the center of Norrköping behind you, with Campus Norrköping, and you can see that the river kind of flows through the city.
yeah, exactly. And this picture is like 3 or 4 minutes by walk away from the accommodation that we used, my wife and I used to live there. So, and also I could add that the Swedish people, Swedes are so nice, welcoming, helpful, compassionate. I don't know in what countries there's been this cliche that maybe Scandinavian people are a little bit cold because of the weather or everything, but it's not true at all. They are not cold. They are very sociable, very helpful and warm in any aspect. And also about Norrköping, during the summer there have been a lot of lakes for swimming just around the city. So it was very fun for my wife and I to just go there by bikes, swim a little bit, and take back to home just for in a duration of 4 or 5 hours.
Sounds like you had a really, really nice time. How did you mentioned, the people are the cliche of cold people because of the cold weather. How did you cope with the cold weather then, and with the dark winters?
Um, yes, the winters here in Sweden are a little bit cold, more than a little bit, and they are dark. But I know some people that, because of these reasons, after the graduation, left Sweden for other countries. But I mean, at least for me, for my wife, and many other people that know here, international students and people from Sweden, these characteristics might be a little bit difficult at some times to cope with, but normally because of different things. Let's say, the clothing industry here is something like when you put on a jacket, so it's not that much cold inside.
Yeah.
So the people here, have learned how to cope with the weather and everything, and they are actually providing us with their technologies. So I would say that at least for me, this darkness and cold weather is not a big deal at all.
Yeah, I think Swedish people cope as well because, since they were little, their parents tell them there is no bad weather, there's only bad clothes.
Exactly.
They tell you that all the time. But yeah, you're right. It is warm indoors, and I think a lot of people from even Southern Europe have kind of been surprised by the fact that it's always heated and it's always warm indoors, even in the winter. I would like to find out a bit more about from both of you, really, kind of the target student in the sense of who would, I don't want to say target student, but the kind of person who would enjoy and thrive on this program. So both academic background, but also in terms of personality traits and I mean, who are we aiming this program at?
Should I start? Well, I mean, if you really talk about the background, we really want you to have the students to have a background in urban and regional planning. And we say it's around 90 credits in urban regional planning or following relevant subject area, such as human geography, global studies, public administration, town planning, country planning, environmental science, some economics, architecture, to give you some examples that I come up with now, but we list this on the website. Also that we really want students that want to change and what is motivated and interested to work with the global changes that we have talked about, both me and Mohammad, that the world are facing today, and wants to plan for the cities of tomorrow, I would say, and to be very problem-oriented. Analytical studies is very important to addressing these urban challenges. So we want students to be interested in both the practical and the academic writing. And you need, of course, to be able to read and write in English because the whole program is in English. So writing skills, but also to be able to talk and write in English is good. And to be able to work independently and to organize and plan your studies, of course. And we have some group works, but you really need to be able to plan for your studies yourself and study, because a typical week is like half time you have lectures and seminars, and half time you need to study and read before different lecture and seminars. So it's very important to be able to think of that as well.
Mm-hmm. So we have a kind of strategic mind in a sense.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Mohammad, how would you say this? I mean, what were you all like? You and your fellow students.
Not only this program and maybe university or city is an international place or a place for international students, but also at least in this program, we as students have many different backgrounds that was very beneficial for each of us. For example, one of the mates was from political science, so me myself have learned many things from him. The other one was from international relations, some from human geography, and some of us from architecture, and many other from urban planning. So this combination and amalgamation, could have benefited all of us in order to learn from each other, not only the professors, but also from each other. So I think this atmosphere of having a variety of measures as the background of our studies, I think would benefit all of us, or let's say have benefited all of us so far.
So basically, another personality trait really is a willingness to share, a willingness to kind of use your own knowledge to teach, or to share with your fellow students.
Exactly. I would say the first characteristic that you need to have is you need to be a hard worker, because the workload is so high in this program. Even if you wanted to work part-time, you won't have time to do that. At least for me, it was not like this. I had put all of my energy and time on the courses, and it's like mostly all the weeks starts by a lecture from the professors. We have been assigned some articles and book chapters to read and get to know to this new subject. And late on the same week, we had this seminar between the professors and students in order for us to discuss these new concepts. So it feels like, at least for me, after every single week during the last year, I've taken something new with me in the area of strategic regional urban planning.
Oh, great. That sounds really, really good. Yeah, but I'm glad you mentioned that, because we get that question a lot about part-time work, and our programs do require full-time studies, 40 hours a week, and it's also there's a limited number of jobs available, especially for students who don't speak Swedish. So it's not something that if you can find something, then good on you, but it's not something that we recommend that you kind of hang your entire financial situation on. You do need to have your own funding. We're going to move over to questions. So we're going to end up saying goodbye to the viewers who are watching this recording. But before I go, I just wanted to say that the application period opens on the 18th of October and closes middle of January. I believe it's the 17th of January this year. Have a look on our website, or you can just Google how to apply LiU and you get the page. And there's basically a page on how to apply. It's a video that's really it's really kind of explains everything really well. Have a look there and make sure you kind of look at the application in good time before the deadline, so that if you're missing anything, if your English tests and so on. And we've shared a link to our blog, which I should have mentioned when Mohammad was telling you about student life. I don't think we have a student from this program participating this year, but we have students from a variety of programs, and follow them. Have a look at what they say about the university, what they say about living here. They're sharing loads of great tips. So have a look at the blog and our Instagram page as well, which is run by our students. So they take turns managing it for a week each, and they show you their life here, really, and it's really useful because you can learn from their mistakes in a sense, but the things that they have kind of encountered during their time here, you can learn from it. You can learn a lot from both the blog and the Instagram. So without further ado, thank you and goodbye.